The model boy and Tom became face to face, and they were about to fight with each other. So he just warned, means Tom warned the boy that he could beat him up, and if he wanted to, and they were constantly threatening each other. Now, oh well, why don't you? Oh, you think you are mighty smart, don't you? I could lick you with one hand tied behind me if I wanted to. So he said what? That he could lick him, means he could beat him. Means Tom could beat the model boy by tying his hand round, one hand round him. Now, uh, well, why don't you do it? You say you can do it. So again the boy warned him, and the boy was rather eager to face him. He just again provoked him by saying that, okay, you can do it, just if you would like it, you just do it. Another pause and more eyeing and sidling around each other. Presently they were shoulder to shoulder, Tom said. So what happened? Another pause. Means there was another pause. They were not talking with each other. Two boys were moving side to side, and they were presently they were means they were in the position of shoulder to shoulder each other. Means they were moving side by side, and they were looking at each other. And Tom said, "Get away from here." So Tom ordered the boy to get away from there. "I won't." The boy said that he would not. So they stood each with a foot placed at an angle as a brace, and with both shoving and glaring at each other with hate. So they stood what? They placed the foot at an angle, and it seemed to have they had placed the leg, means he had placed the leg for support, and both were warning each other, both were looking very harshly at each other, and it seemed that they were about to have a great fight. But neither could get an advantage. No one could get the advantage. After struggling till both were hot and flushed, each relaxed his strain with watchful caution, and Tom said. So after struggling, means they just started their fighting with each other, and they fought with each other, and they just utilized their muscle power. Means after this struggling, they were very hot and flushed, and then they relaxed their strain which they had received from the fighting with watchful caution. Means in a very cautious way they mentioned. Tom said, "You are a coward and a pup. I will tell my big brother on you, and you can thrash you with this little finger, and I will make him do it." Now Tom again started warning. He said to the boy that he was a very coward and he was just like a pup. And now he was bringing one imaginary big brother in the scene. Why? Because he knew that the boy was quite strong. So he said what? That his big brother would do what? Would throw him over the fence. Both brothers were imaginary. So all the brothers were imaginary, you can understand. That's a lie. So the boy said that he was lying. You are saying don't make it so. You are saying so, don't make it so. So he again warned that he should not speak like that. Tom drew a line in the dust with his big toe and said, "I dare you to step over that, and I will lick you till you can't stand up." So he made a what? He made, he drew a line uh, on the sand below, means on the dust below with his big toe. Means it's a sort of boundary he created, and he warned the boy that if he would dare to step over it, then Tom would beat him to blue, and he would not be able to stand up. The new boy stepped over promptly and said, but the new boy was very brave. He just stepped over it quickly and then said, "Now you said you would do it. Now let's see you do it." Now he said to the boy, "Okay, come on, you hit me." He had crossed the boundary. He did not care for Tom's warning, and he again openly threatened him to beat him. By Jingo, for 2 cents, now you said you do it. Now let's do it. So by Jingo, for 2 cents, I will do it. So it seemed that someone might have challenged him. So for 2 cents, Tom would definitely beat him. So by Jingo is a type of expression or approval sort of thing. The new boy took two broad coppers out of his pocket and held them out with derision. Now the new boy means for 2 cents, as Tom said, that he would wanted to have some money by given by someone. The new boy took out these two copper coins out of his pocket, and in a quite anger and in a very mocking way, he was making fun of Tom, and he showed him the two copper coins. Tom struck them to the ground. Now Tom threw them to the ground. In an instant, both boys were rolling and tumbling in the dirt. As a result, again the fight started. Two boys were rolling and tumbling in the dirt and gripped together like cats. They were just gripping together like cats. Have you seen a cat fighting? Then, if you would have noticed it, you would have noticed. And they were gripping together like cats, and for the space of a minute, they tugged and tore at each other's hair. Means the boy was pulling Tom's hair, Tom was pulling the boy's hair and clothes, and then they were tearing their clothes and all those things. And then they were punching, they were giving blows to each other with the fist, and they were scratching each other's nose. It means it was a terrible fight going on. And clothes, and covered themselves with dust and glory. So why covered themselves with dust and glory? So as well as they were fighting, they were showing their power. So they were covered with dust because they were just rolling on the dust, as well as they were showing their glory. Glory means what? Glory means they were proud that they were fighting with each other, means they were proving their heroism. So they were very proud. Presently the confusion took form, and through the fog of battle Tom appeared, seated astride the new boy and pounding him with his fists. "Hollow enough," said he. Now Tom appeared. What happened? There was now the confusion took place in the form of a battle. You can understand. Now what happened? Suddenly Tom became victorious. He just threw the boy, and means the boy couldn't stand up, and the he was sitting on the chest of the boy and pounding him, means, and he was constantly beating him with his, means, he was giving hard blows on the face of the boy with his fists. Fist means this portion, okay, like this portion, okay, and means from wrist to the fingers. And hollow enough, said he. He said what? That it was enough. The boy only struggled to free himself. Now the boy was also very helpless. He only struggled to free himself. But he was crying mainly from rage, and he was caught in such a situation that he could not move. And he was crying loudly, shouting loudly, crying loudly in rage, in anger. Hollow enough, and the pounding went on. And it was enough, and Tom became so much angry, he was constantly beating the boy. At last the stranger got out a smothered enough, and Tom let him and said. So at last the stranger was covered with dust and mud, and it was totally uh, totally in the very much troubling situation. At last it was over, and Tom let him and said, "Now that that you will learn, you better look out who you are fooling with the next time." Now Tom now warned. Tom now proved his heroism, that he was able to overpower the boy. He said that he should learn from this incident, and better he would not be fooling Tom like boys next time. The new boy went on brushing the dust from his clothes, sobbing, softening, and occasionally looking black and shaking his head and threatening what he would do to Tom the next time he caught him out. So what is the condition of the new boy? The new boy just left the place. He was just brushing off, means he was just trying to clean off his, or dusting off the dust, mud, whatever was there sticking on his clothes. And he was sobbing, means he was crying with convulsive gaps, means he was just crying, then snuffling, means sometimes the fluid is coming out of the nose. He was taking the fluid inside, means and occasionally he was looking back, okay, sometimes he was looking back, and then he was shaking his head and threatening Tom that he would do what? He would definitely beat him the next time they would meet. So you can understand this is quite a nice and interesting story, and it's very amusing and entertaining. Especially the character of Tom and how he faced the boy. Means at last Tom won the battle and became victorious, and that was his great achievement. Okay, this is the story of Meet Tom Sawyer.